A lady named Rumi gets her fried chicken restaurant featured on a local TV station. As the restaurant gets filmed, Rumi talks about her fried chicken and how it's the best in the area. After a while, she's asked a couple of questions about her childhood, and she mentions that her dad abandoned her and her mom when she was just 10 years old. She adds that things weren't easy for her mom, but they still managed to survive. Rumi's mom also gets interviewed.
엄마가 고생이 되게 많으셨죠.
And she talks about the things she had to do to make some money to take care of herself and Rumi. After this, the interviewer shows how successful Rumi's business is, and Rumi also takes a picture with some of her customers. A while later, Rumi sleeps inside her restaurant after she closes for the day. Suddenly, she sees some men peeping through the glass window. As she looks shocked, she immediately picks up her phone and calls a lawyer named Kim to inform him that she thinks her restaurant is about to be demolished. Interestingly, it turns out that a construction company named Tyson is planning to demolish all the shops in the area so they can build a large shopping center for Chinese tourists. Despite this, Tyson doesn't seem ready to compensate the shop owners for their loss.
저희 집 좀 가봐요. 애들 왔어요.
Before Rumi's call with Kim ends, the thugs outside the shop break down the door so they can enter the restaurant. Rumi then goes toward them to send them away because they don't even have a legal permit to carry out the demolition. The men don't seem to care about what she's saying, and they drag her out of the shop to beat her. Almost immediately, Rumi's mom gets to the scene and tries to stop the men from hurting Rumi, but they don't listen to her. She then decides to drive her van past the thugs to get them to leave Rumi alone. As she does this, she ends up hitting the wall, and the thugs seem pissed at her. Before she gets out of the van, two of the thugs try to drag her out forcefully, but she fights back. Rumi also tells them to leave her mom, but they don't listen to her. Almost immediately, one of them drags Rumi's mom out of the van, and she hits her head on the pavement. She instantly goes unconscious, and the thugs look shocked by this. Rumi runs to check up on her mom, and some neighbors also arrive at the scene. As Rumi looks scared because her mom is unresponsive, one of the neighbors calls 911 to report the situation. After a while, Rumi's mom is taken to the hospital, but unfortunately, the doctors are unable to save her. The next day, a meteor lands in the neighborhood, and particles from it seep into the town's spring water. The particles eventually drop into the cup of a man named Psychokinesis, who stops at the spring mountain to drink some water. As he drinks it, he spits some of it out and complains that the water might be polluted.
이상하다니까. 이거 물 샜어요.
The other person at the spring mountain doesn't seem to think there's a problem with it, and she still goes toward it to get some water. After this, Seok-haeon heads to a bank where he works as a security guard. Later that day, he greets the cleaning lady, who happens to be his friend, and he asks if she would like a cup of coffee. The lady says she doesn't mind, and Seok-haeon goes to his drawer to take one of the instant coffee sachets inside. The lady asks why he bought so many sachets.
아유, 사두긴.
But he mentions that he takes the ones inside the bank. The lady says they're meant for customers, but Seok-haeon doesn't seem to think there's anything wrong with taking the free coffee sachets from time to time. After he gives her a cup of coffee, he shows her his bag and tells her that he steals toilet paper as well. The lady cannot believe this, but Seok-haeon just jokes about it. She then asks why he's not drinking a cup of coffee, and he complains that he's still having a stomach upset, likely because of the spring water he drank in the morning.
아이, 난 집에 휴지도 다.
The cleaning lady says that the water might be polluted and that he needs to be careful next time. Almost immediately, Seok-haeon's colleague arrives at work, and he goes to welcome him. When his shift is over, Seok-haeon leaves the bank and heads home. On the way, he sees one of the bank staff scolding the cleaning lady for stealing the free coffee sachets. As Seok-haeon hears this, he just walks past them quickly so that the cleaning lady won't report him. After a while, he stops outside a supermarket to have a drink. Just then, he starts feeling an intense pain in his stomach.
여보세요.
오빠.
and this forces him to place his head on the table. Interestingly, he unknowingly squeezes a cup on the table with his hand while still in pain. He also manages to lift some things off the ground, and this eventually creates a strange energy wave that pushes the tables and chairs around him away. Even though he's not aware of this, he seems slightly relieved and gently rests his head on the table. Suddenly, the owner of the supermarket comes outside and sees the scattered tables and chairs.
술을 마시려면 곱게 마셔야지. 이게 뭐야 이게?
The man thinks Seok-hyun is drunk and he sends him away. When Seok-hyun gets home, he tries to light a cigarette, but the lighter happens to be slightly far from him. He seems quite lazy to stand up, so he just stretches his hand and tries to reach for it. Surprisingly, the lighter swiftly moves toward his hand, and Seok-hyun looks shocked by this. As he looks at the lighter and wonders what just happened, he gets a call from Rumi, who calls him her dad. Seok-hyun seems surprised by this, but Rumi says she only called him to inform him that her mom is dead.
아니요. 갑자기 이렇게 연락드리게 돼.
The next day, at Rumi's mom's funeral, Seok-hyun arrives late but still meets his daughter. After they sit together, Rumi says sorry for calling him out of the blue, but he says it's not a problem. He then asks if Rumi's mom was sick, but Rumi doesn't respond to his question. She says she got his number from her mom's phone and just thought of calling him because he's her dad. Seok-hyun looks sad because he wasn't there for Rumi while she was growing up, and he doesn't know how to fix their relationship. Almost immediately, the thugs from the other day arrive at the scene with their boss, Min.
네가 뭐가?
야,
Rumi cannot believe that they really came for her mom's funeral, and she tells Min that he's supposed to wait until they meet in court. Min then says that there's no reason for them to go to court because Rumi's mom passed away while driving. He adds that Rumi is just accusing him and his men because she's delusional. Rumi seems pissed by this, and as she nearly fights him, Kim arrives and calms her down. He then tells Min to let the case get settled in court. Min feels sorry for Rumi,
겁나두고 뭐 하는 거예요 이게 지금?
and he gives her some money as a way to share his condolences, but she rejects it. Min doesn't like this, but he eventually leaves with his men, who also appear to be angry at the way Rumi behaved toward their boss. After they leave, Rumi feels bad about what happened, and she tells her dad to leave if he doesn't want to wait. As she walks away, Kim realizes that Seok-hyun is Rumi's dad, and he introduces himself as her friend and lawyer. They eventually head out together, and Kim shows Seok-hyun where Rumi's shop is located.
아, 여기입니다. 루미 씨네 가게.
As he enters the place, he looks around and sees a picture of Rumi on the wall. Kim then talks about Taison's project and how they're refusing to compensate Rumi and the other residents in the area. He adds that they'd rather pay Min and his thugs to harass the residents and force them to leave. Suddenly, Seok-hyun asks what Kim really wants, but he seems confused by the question. He then says he's a lawyer, but Seok-hyun asks if he likes Rumi.
이제 루미 씨랑 어머님이랑 어렵게 고생해서 만드신 거라는데
Kim says he doesn't and that he's just after his work. Seok-hyun then tells him not to lead her on unless he's going to take responsibility for his actions. As he walks away, Kim tries to stop him so he can talk about his plan to fight Taesain in court, but Seok-hyun just ignores him. After a while, he thinks about what happened earlier and how Rumi looked sad. As he angrily throws the cigarette in his hand away, the trash bags in the area also move, and this leaves him shocked. He then looks at the lighter and remembers that he was able to move it with his hand
여기 싹 다 밀고 이제
the previous day. After this, he runs home and tries to see what he can do with his new powers. He manages to pull the lighter toward himself a few times, and he also makes the things in his room float in the air. Seok-hyun is shocked by this, and he realizes that he now has telekinetic powers. The next morning, he heads to work very early, and his colleague looks shocked by this. Seok-hyun then asks him if he thinks magicians make a lot of money. The security man looks confused by this, but he mentions that he expects magicians to earn well. He adds that the town's nightclub pays magicians a lot of money every week. Seok-haeon seems impressed by this, but his colleague doesn't seem to get why he's so concerned about how much magicians make. Later that day, Seok-haeon follows Rumi and her neighbors to the district where their shops are located. As they start talking about how Min's men are still trying to destroy their shops, Kim tells them to calm down because he's going to see the prosecutor the next day. While some of the neighbors don't think the law can help them, others seem worried that Rumi's mom died for nothing. Rumi then says that some people can stay back with her to guard their shops at night. Seok-haeon sounds shocked to hear this, and he advises her against doing that because he believes the thugs are dangerous. One of the neighbors suggests using Molotov cocktails to fight back, but Kim says it's a bad idea. As someone asks if Kim wants them to just stay back without fighting, he says it's not what he meant. Seok-haeon believes it's what he's trying to get them to do, and he tells Rumi not to join them. He says she can get another shop or go to college instead of risking her life. As he insults the neighbors for trying to get his daughter to risk her life, they talk back at him, and this nearly leads to a fight. Rumi then tells Seok-haeon to leave because it's clear that he's not in support of them. Seok-haeon looks disappointed by this, but he agrees to leave. Later that night, Seok-haeon goes to the nightclub his colleague talked about earlier. He then meets the manager and says that he wants to perform as a magician at the club.
나를 좀 보자고 하셨다고?
The manager asks what he can do, and Seok-haeon lifts a bowl on the table without touching it. The manager looks impressed by this, and he hires Seok-haeon. The next day, Kim and Rumi head to a restaurant to meet the prosecutor. As the man arrives, he asks if they have firmer evidence because the autopsy report won't be enough. Rumi looks disappointed by this, and they eventually leave the restaurant together. She then says she's heading back to her shop, and Kim mentions that he's going to speak to someone else to see if he can help them. After a while, she arrives at the shopping district, and her neighbors ask if there's a positive update from the meeting with the prosecutor. Rumi says they'll have to wait a little longer because they don't have sufficient evidence against Min's men just yet. Almost immediately, Seok-haeon walks up to her and asks if they can talk privately. Rumi agrees to do this, and as they enter one of the shops, Seok-haeon says he's serious about wanting her to forget about her fight with Min and Tyson.
왜요? 무슨 얘긴데요?
He adds that he has gotten a new job, which he believes will be sufficient to take care of her. Before Rumi says anything, Seok-haeon does a couple of magic tricks with his powers. Rumi doesn't seem impressed, and she says that she can't forget that he left her and her mom when she was still young. Seok-haeon says he only left to protect them after he got into a huge debt. He adds that he now has a strange new ability, which he has used to secure a good job. Rumi still doesn't seem impressed, and she begins to cry while talking about her shop and how she lost her mom. She also mentions that she can't forget when she saw Seok-haeon leaving the house many years ago, but he pretended not to see her. She then says that she's trying to get her life back together, but he wants to ruin things for her. Rumi also tells him to stop acting like her dad after being absent for years. Seok-haeon looks disappointed by this, and as he leaves, he remembers seeing Rumi staring at him just before he made the decision to abandon his family. Almost immediately, he sees Min and his men heading to the shopping district, and he realizes that Rumi and the others are in danger. Back at the shopping district, Rumi and the others learn that Min is on his way, and they start planning what to do to defend themselves. Shortly after, the thugs arrive at the shopping district.
역겨우니까.
But Rumi and her neighbors try to stop them from doing anything. Unfortunately, the thugs get the upper hand, and they start beating the residents. Almost immediately, Seok-haeon arrives at the scene and starts looking for Rumi. Some of the thugs attack him, but he accidentally uses his powers to throw them against the wall. As he realizes that he can actually use his powers, he takes down some of the thugs and sees Rumi on the floor. After he helps her up, Min and his assistant look shocked because they saw Seok-haeon use his powers.
오야, 애들 잘 튼다.
As one of the thugs still tries to attack him, Seok-hyun uses his powers on the man. Before he dislocates the man's arm, two cops get to the building, and Seok-hyun quickly drops the thug. After they all get to the police station, Min talks about what Seok-hyun did, but Rumi calls him a liar and mentions that his thugs were the ones who attacked the innocent residents. Min says he has proof because his assistant recorded a video. However, as he shows the cop the video, he can't seem to explain what Seok-hyun did because Rumi's dad didn't even touch any of the men. The cop eventually dismisses the case and tells them to leave. As they get outside, the residents look happy and thank Seok-hyun for helping them. One of them also asks about his powers, but he says it's probably magic. The residents don't seem to care about this, and they believe that they won't have to worry about the thugs as long as Seok-hyun is around. On their way back to the shopping district,
좋겠네, 그럼.
Kim comes over to meet them to ask what happened, but they just tell him that Seok-hyun took down the thugs for them. Shortly after, Seok-hyun helps the residents create a barrier to prevent the thugs from getting through to their shops. As things start flying around the neighborhood, some of Min's men who were sent to guard the place look scared. Meanwhile, Kim cannot believe that Seok-hyun really has powers. As one of the residents jokes that he'll be Seok-hyun's agent because his powers are marketable, Kim says he'll also need a lawyer. The residents don't really think it's important, but Kim still follows Seok-hyun to ask how he got his powers. Kim says he doesn't know, and that he just became a magician overnight. Kim believes it's odd, and Seok-hyun says he knows. He, however, mentions that he was probably given the powers so he could become a better father. As Kim asks who gave him the powers, Seok-hyun says it might be Rumi's mom.
담배 영수증은 정산 처리가 안 되는데.
Elsewhere, the guards at the shopping district go to Min's office to tell him that they no longer want to work there again because they're scared. As Min tries to understand the reason for their resignation, he gets a call from someone at Tai-san who tells him to come for a meeting the next day. Meanwhile, Kim tells Rumi that her father is now a hero to the residents because of how he has been able to help them. However, Rumi says she doesn't think her dad is a hero. She then complains about the name he gave her, which means weakling. Kim says it's probably one of those names parents use to ward off ghosts. Rumi asks what he means, and he mentions that in the past, some parents thought nice names would make it easy for ghosts to take their children, so they started giving their kids bad names. As Kim says it shows how much Seok-hyun cares about her, he walks away, and Rumi thinks about this. The next day, some of the residents get Rumi and Seok-hyun to head to a restaurant together to eat. As they get there, Rumi asks if Seok-hyun's powers will affect his health. He says it won't, but Rumi still tells him to make sure he sees a doctor.
날씨 좋다.
Elsewhere, Min and his assistant go to Tai-san for a meeting with a director named Hong. As she arrives, she starts acting strangely, and Min looks surprised. Almost immediately, Hong calls on her thugs to enter the meeting room. As they come in, they beat up Min while she records herself pretending to be against it. After Min gets badly injured, the thugs leave him, and Hong asks if he knows how important the shopping center project is to her company. Min says he knows, and she asks why he's taking so much time to clear the area. Min then talks about Seok-hyun and mentions that he's Rumi's dad. Hong says she'll take care of that, and she asks how long it will take Min to send the residents away without Seok-hyun. Min says he can do it in one day, but Hong gives him 48 hours to get the job done. She then asks if there's another problem, and Min says that Rumi's mom died because of their mistake. Hong doesn't seem to care much about this, but she tells Min that they can fix the situation. Much later, the residents watch the news and realize that the media is now trying to launch a hate campaign against Seok-hyun because of his powers. The next day, two detectives go to the shopping district to arrest Seok-hyun.
저 뭐야?
He looks shocked and asks what he has done, and the cops mention that his boss has reported him for stealing some supplies. Seok-hyun looks shocked by this, and Rumi also wonders if her dad did it. Seok-hyun says he's innocent, but the cops tell him to come with them to clear his name. Following this, Seok-hyun agrees to follow them to the station, and he tells Rumi and the others that he'll be back soon. After a while, Rumi calls Kim to tell him what happened. She also mentions that her dad seemed confused by the allegation, but Kim says he'll handle it. After the call ends, the prosecutor calls Kim to inform him that the case regarding Rumi's mom has taken a different turn because someone just confessed that he killed her. Kim is shocked by this, and he realizes that Tae-sein is trying to clean up Min's mess. It then turns out that during her meeting with Min, Hong told him to get one of his men to take the fall for Rumi's mom's death.
그런 다음에 법인을 새로 빨리 내세요.
She also told Min to take down his business and start a new one under another name. On top of that, she mentioned that she'll get some dirt on Seok-hyun so that he'll be arrested. When Kim gets to Min's old office, he sees that it's empty, and he realizes that Tae-san just took Seok-hyun out of the picture so they can take down the residence with the help of the police. He then calls Rumi to inform her about this. Coincidentally, the policemen have already arrived at the scene, and Kim tells Rumi to leave the shopping district before she gets arrested. Rumi refuses to do this, and she says that she's not giving up. After the call ends, she and the other residents get ready for a fight against the cops. Elsewhere, Seok-hyun is placed in a cell at the police station, but Hong soon arrives to see him. She then confesses that she's responsible for his arrest. She adds that she works for Tae-sein, but Seok-hyun asks what she wants. Hong then offers to give him some money if he agrees to stay away from the shopping district.
전 태산건설에서 일하고 있는 사람이에요.
She also mentions that if he doesn't accept her offer, she'll make sure he's tagged a dangerous man so that he won't be able to get a job even after he leaves prison. Seok-hyun says that the residents just want some compensation, but Hong doesn't seem to care about this. She then leaves her card for him and tells him to contact her when he has made a decision. Back at the shopping district, Rumi and the other residents start throwing Molotov cocktails at the policemen. After a while, she runs away with the others to regroup, but she nearly gets caught up in an explosion. Interestingly, the situation has already escalated, and a local news station also happens to be showing what's happening live. As Seok-hyun is being taken back to his cell, he sees the live news report and wonders what's happening. One of the cops eventually tells his colleagues to turn off the TV, and they do just this. Seok-hyun still asks what's happening, and he snatches one of their phones. He then sees that Tae-sein has sent cops to the shopping district to arrest everyone. Seok-hyun looks shocked by this, and he seems worried that Rumi might get hurt. Almost immediately, he breaks his cuffs and gets out of the cell. He then jumps out through the window and lands in front of Hong just before she enters her car. Hong looks impressed by this, but Seok-hyun squeezes her card and destroys her car. He then flies away from the scene and heads toward the shopping district. Before he gets there, Kim calls Rumi and tells her to go to the roof with the other residents so that they won't get arrested. On their way, one of the residents nearly falls from the building, but he quickly holds on to an iron bar. As he eventually gets tired, his hands start slipping and he loses his grip. Before he falls down, though, Seok-hyun gets to the scene and saves him. The man looks relieved by this and tells Seok-hyun that Rumi and the others are on the roof. Almost immediately, the cops use a big cargo container to get to the roof of the building. As they start attacking the residents, one of them drags Rumi into the container. Meanwhile, Seok-hyun still hasn't mastered his flying abilities, and he crashes into the building. The cops initially beat him up, but he eventually gets the upper hand and knocks all of them down. After this, he heads to the roof to help the other residents. Almost immediately, one of the clips holding the big container snaps, and Rumi nearly falls out of it. One of the cops eventually falls, but he holds on to the edge. Rumi sees this and goes to help him, but she struggles to drag him back up. Suddenly, Seok Seok-haeon sees what's happening, and he uses his powers to try to pull the container toward the roof. As it almost gets there, he loses balance, and Rumi falls out of it. Seok-haeon looks terrified by this, but he quickly saves his daughter before she falls to the ground. As he carries her back up, he tells her that he's sorry for abandoning her when she was a child. After he drops her off on the roof, he tells Kim to take care of his daughter for him. Kim and Rumi don't understand this, but Seok-haeon eventually flies away to meet the cops.
얘네가 이겼다.
He then stands in front of Min and tells him that Tae-san has won. As Min smiles, Seok-haeon punches him, and his assistant quickly goes to help him. After this, Seok-haeon surrenders to the cops, and even though they look scared, he says they can arrest him. 4 years later, Seok-haeon gets released from prison, and he heads out alone. Before he goes too far, Kim drives next to him and apologizes for not getting to the prison early enough to pick him up. After Seok-haeon enters the car, Kim talks about Rumi and says that he's getting married to her. Seok-haeon says he thought he didn't like her, but Kim mentions that he was lying the other day when he said that. Shortly after, Kim stops by the roadside and shows Seok-haeon the deserted land where Rumi's shop used to be. He says that Tae-san couldn't begin the project due to the extent of internal corruption that they faced. He adds that the project was never really practicable, but Seok-haeon tells him to drive away because the place is an eyesore. After a while, they get to the location of Rumi's new shop. Seok-haeon then watches his daughter serving her customers. She initially doesn't notice that he's there, but when she does, she looks speechless. Seok-haeon thinks he came at the wrong time, but Rumi suddenly yells at him to help her out with serving the customers. Seok-haeon seems happy about this, and he uses his powers to lift some drinks and pass them to the customers. Everyone appears to be pleased with this, and they look happy to see him again. Years after abandoning his family, Seok-haeon suddenly gains telekinetic abilities after drinking some spring water. At the same time, his daughter, Rumi, leads a protest against a construction company that wants to illegally demolish the shops in her neighborhood. Even though Seok-haeon initially didn't like the idea of fighting Tae-san, he eventually uses his powers to help Rumi and the other residents. In this story, we learn that it's never too late to make amends and fight for those we love.